Guys, welcome on into Three Bold Takes. I am Freddie, joined by Quinn here. And after an incredible week of college football last week, there was almost some huge upsets, some overtime games, last second heroic plays, things of that nature. We're going to move on to the next week of college football, which I believe is week 12, according to the schedule. And to open it off, we have an ACC game on Friday night at 6:30 between Clemson and Louisville. And this is not your everyday Clemson. We're well aware. They're 4-5 currently. However, Quinn, we talked about this last week. They won the loser fires their head coach game. Big deal. Big deal for the Clemson Tigers. Won 24-10. However, Louisville did fall to Cal in overtime. That was one of the upsets that I was speaking of earlier. 29-26 in overtime. This game currently, it looks like Louisville is favored by 3.5 at home with a 54% chance to win.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Clemson is coming in a scary place. I would not, because let's look, they've had their issues, clearly. They're still a super talented football team. Like the talent level at Clemson's there. It's just a coaching issue, I guess. I don't know what you can chalk it up to, but obviously the Jimmies and Joes, they're not lacking in that department.
Yeah.
They're in a situation, and I know Dabo Sweeney is insane about this. They're going to do everything in their power to get to 6 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in their power to get to 6 wins. They have 3 games left, and they need to win 2 of them. Now, if I'm South Carolina, I'm like crying, knowing that they're probably going to beat my brains in because they care so much about that game. But there's still 2 games left, and they got to win one of them. Here's what's playing in Louisville's favor, because I would be just mashing the Clemson button. They're coming in off the big win over Florida State. I'd be hammering that call. Wasn't for the fact that Cal just beat Louisville. I know that makes you go, oh, well, Louisville's not that good. They can lose. And I get where you go to that thought. They just slipped up. They're going to be more dialed in now than they would have been if they escaped from Cal. Friday night games in the ACC get weird, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in me is telling me to go Clemson because they're in like desperation to get to 6 wins mode. But I don't see Louisville caving 2 weeks in a row to inferior opponents. I think they learned their lesson with the Cal game. I think they come in more dialed in, more focused, more ready to go for this Clemson game. Give me Louisville to get it done at home on a Friday night, but expect to get your best punch possible from Clemson.
I'm glad that you brought up the fact that Clemson's going to fight to get a bowl game, because I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, the year before Clemson made the 12-team playoff by winning the ACC. They were in, I think it was the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and traditionally in college football now, that who cares, right? You're in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's one that's right around Christmas, so nobody's watching the game except for the fans of those two teams. That's it, and half of those probably aren't even watching. But the way that Clemson and Dabo treated that game was like it was a national title, and that shows that there is leadership from the top at Clemson, and their issues is from a coaching standpoint, but it's not from um, a traditional coaching standpoint, if that makes sense. Like, I think X's and O's are there. I think leadership is there. I just think it's the direction the program's going with the changes that's happening. And I think that's where they're getting left behind.
I'll give you a little pushback on X's and O's. I think they're average in that department, to be honest with you.
I think the defense is there. Their offense needs some help, and honestly, I think it goes back to Cade Klubnik. They put all their eggs in his basket. For the past 3 years, I mean, this guy was supposed to be a Heisman guy originally. This guy was going to be the next Trevor Lawrence. Like there was so much hype around this guy, and he has not panned out to any sort of expectation.
Either did
Which
DJ Uiagalelei either. That's two in a row.
right, like that's what I'm kind of getting at is the defense has always been there. They have the dudes, and like you said, like they have the blue chip players. Like they recruit in the top 5 and top 10 for a reason every year. The difference is they took in what 2 guys in the portal in the offseason. They were one of only 2. I think it was them and Army were the only 2. And here's the thing. Army's not even allowed to use the transfer portal. This guy transferred in because he wanted to go to Army, and it was a whole different deal. It wasn't for his athletic abilities. So when you're talking, you're in a conversation with them, that's where the issues kind of go for me when it comes to like a talent perspective. When you look at Louisville, they're 7-2, and listen, we didn't even talk about that Cal Louisville game last week. And the reason why I didn't really want to talk about it is for the simple fact that Louisville was playing at home. And traditionally speaking, in the new ACC, when a West Coast team travels to an East Coast team and the East Coast team's ranked higher, they're going to win. Vice versa, if the East Coast team travels to the West Coast and the East Coast team is a higher ranked team, they're probably going to lose because that travel's ridiculous. We've seen it the past 2 years now. So that game was not even on my radar. That was a blunder. That was a looking ahead, I think, of, hey, we're ranked 15th in the country. We have a chance to win the conference and this and that. I'm going to go with Clemson here.
Okay.
I just think that the talent's there, and me and you talked about it last week, how we thought that Clemson looked checked out. We thought that Clemson looked uninspired before the Florida State game. And after watching some of that Florida State game, I don't agree with what we talked about. They look like they want to make a bowl game. They look inspired. They look like the leadership level is there. And for that, I'm going to go Clemson. That's the only reason that I have. The talent composite leans Clemson, but season over talent composite, you're looking at Louisville. So it's kind of a toss-up here. The line's at 3.5. You get 3 points for home field advantage, so you're almost looking at a toss-up here, traditionally speaking. So it could be an interesting game on Friday night. I might take a peek at it.